being a procrastinator and a perfectionist is kind of like this double trouble, right? And but where does this come from? And when we look at the root of procrastination, it's easier to understand than perfectionism. Like there's a lot of things in our life that we don't necessarily want to do all the time, right? For everything, there is kind of a mood. For example, when you're hungry, you're more likely to eat. When you're full, you're more likely to stop eating. If you're an athletic person, when you're well rested, you're more likely to go out and work out. When you're tired, you're more likely to rest. So, in terms of waiting for motivation and inspiration, it's easy to see that, hey, procrastination, why does it happen? It's because of something like that. But I think perfectionism is really in the way of doing actions in the first place. So if you look at my action formula, which is my book and basically a bunch of video series on my YouTube channel related to action, perfectionism is like actually one component of the formula, right? Because it's that related to action. The more you want to do a good job at something, the more likely you're going to be blocked with your action. But that natural urge to have your actions line up with your natural desires, that is easily understandable, and everyone more or less has it. Perfectionism, why do we have it? And in some ways, I think it is natural. For example, when I look at children and young babies, right? There are babies whose parents don't have any kind of sensitivity, but they have very specific sensory, stimuli that they react to, right? So they may not like the texture of velvet. They may not like the taste of cranberries in their mouth and such. So these sensitivity to things are kind of what we now call neurodivergence. And these things, right, these heightened susceptibility to hypersensitivity to certain stimuli, this can be like it's a form of perfectionism because we want to not have those experiences, right? And we want to have the experiences that are comforting to us. And these things can be, I think, a part of our upbringing without anybody teaching us. And these, I think, would fall under the realm of neurodiversity. But, it's not really perfectionism, but if it gets to the point of I can't function if there is that bad stimuli for me, or I can't function unless there is that good stimuli to me, if it reaches that point, right, then I think it's worth exploring with your psychiatrist who can prescribe medication to kind of get you a little bit more in line with the just so you can function in society, right? Because the society is not necessarily going to be very welcoming for all of your needs, right? And that's the whole point of trying to work with your ADHD, autism, and things like that. And while they are not necessarily wrong, when you have those conditions and they are over a certain limit, you living in a more or less neurotypical oriented life environment can be very difficult. So it's meant to make your experience easier. It's less about there's something wrong with you. On the other side of perfectionism is this learned behavior. So where do we learn perfectionism from? It's when perfectionism at its core is your unwillingness to kind of it's a very heightened expectation of yourself. You can't accept the fact that you are mediocre. Where do you normally learn this is your parents. When your parents, during your upbringing, always find you lacking, always find something to criticize you, this is when you internalize that for yourself and you start applying those standards to yourself, regardless of your skill level, regardless of your expertise at something. So you may be a new rock climber, but then if you can't do like Vui, whatever that's super other people seem to be having an easy time with, you just can't accept that, and so you don't want to put yourself, you don't want to subject to failure. Why? Because something is going to happen, right? Something is going to happen here. What is going to happen? most likely a reminder of what would have happened during your childhood. And that's the kind of the scary portion of this nurtured process, right? And so, really, once you get that part down, once you understand that you are a human being who's perfectly worthy and capable of failure, and not only is it not bad, that's actually how you make progress. The more you understand that failure is it's a non-negotiable part of the process of development, what you will find is that the less you care about being good, the more likely you are to be doing something. And the more you are likely to be doing something, the less you will procrastinate. And when you just take care of perfectionism, procrastination naturally goes away. And while it seems like you need to fix two problems at once, it's very likely that perfectionism is what you want to be addressing. What's gonna happen when you mess up? What's gonna happen when you fail? What's gonna happen when you are not perfect? And where have you felt that before?